that this is going on, the more intense people's anxiety is becoming. They also, in terms of violence in the home, studies that were conducted. So this was another Canadian study. 1 in 10 women is very or extremely concerned about the possibility of violence in their home. And the stress and anxiety resulting from physical distancing measures were a top concern for Canadians. And 1/3 of Canadians reported that they were very or extremely concerned about family stress from confinement. 8% of Canadians were reporting that they were very or extremely concerned about the possibility of violence in the home. And this percentage was higher for women than for men. They also noted that a number of Canadians expressed concerns about societal changes in the context of COVID-19, and 4 in 10 Canadians were very or extremely concerned about the possibility of civil disorder. So a lot of the surveys that we looked at actually align really close with the survey that we put together. So we had a lot of very similar questions. So I think it'll be really interesting to see the themes that start coming out of our survey and how they compare to some of the national themes that we're seeing. So we'll move into our public engagement survey. It's so exciting, you guys. So the survey went live on Tuesday, and in 48 hours, we've received 140 surveys back, which is absolutely incredible. We're so excited about that. I think it shows that people want to tell their story right now, and people are impacted, and they want to share how they've been impacted and get their voice heard, so we can come up with some strategies to help. So in saying that, I just want to talk quick again about confidentiality. So we asked lots of very sensitive and personal information throughout this survey, and we're getting some very personal and sensitive responses back as well. So just to make sure that we're sensitive to that, we don't know who all of the responses are anonymous, but just to be aware that we are talking about some really, really sensitive information. As a result, we did choose to make some changes to the survey. So at the bottom of the survey, I don't know if everyone remembers, we had, if you would like to participate in further research or be involved and provide additional feedback, please provide your name. Nicole's showing it up on the screen. Please provide your information. We also added a change to the survey where we said, looking for someone to talk to, call FCSS and we could provide support and connect you to the resources that you need. And then we've included the main number of FCSS as well as the after hours number, Lauren, on the survey as well. So just in case it's twigging up emotions or feelings and people want to reach out after that, that they have that place to do so. And that will also be in the newspaper as well. So we just wanted to mitigate when we got this first round of responses. We were actually really surprised about the high number of comments that people are making. Quite often in surveys, people tick a box and those comments are often not filled out. When we go through the survey results, you're going to see we have pages and pages and pages of comments from people. So they want to talk, they want to share their story, and we just want to make sure we can link them to support if they need that. So we're going to go through the initial survey results together. These results, we closed it down at about 10 this morning, and we had 127 people answer the survey up until that point. So we'll go through them together. It was a really short timeline, so we literally haven't had the opportunity to, I haven't even reviewed all the results myself, so we're kind of unveiling them as a group, and we definitely haven't had the opportunity to dive into any themes at this point or do any analysis. But what we're looking at doing is we will present themes moving forward, and we'll just cut off our data collection. We're thinking we'll have to cut it off probably Tuesday at noon, and then we'll have a couple days to do some analysis, compile the themes, and be able to bring that back to you. But today, we are just happy that we have 127 responses, and we're just going to go through the raw data together. Does that sound okay? All right. Oh, yeah.
Question or comment. I know it's going to take some time to go through that. I'm probably going to have to jet before. I just wanted to leave, if I could, a comment.
Yes.
Yeah. Two things. I said a comment and then I split it into two already. The first is council recommendation. I don't know if you're going to talk about that today at all, but I think we need to start to consider that we only have 2 council meetings left before the summer break, which is not to say that council couldn't call a special meeting and get something out and as far as a recommendation, but as a group, and we're doing great work. I don't want to make it sound like I think that we need to rush something or do something different. Just to be mindful that we may perhaps want to have a placeholder on one of those 2 agendas or both. We can always take one off or just use it as an update, but use it as over the next couple of weeks, maybe we start to formulate the recommendations to council. And that's just a comment. The second one is something that I've noticed in the responses in the survey, some of the responses in the surveys from the Economic Recovery Task Force, and the general commentary of people on the street. There's two sides. It's very polarizing. There are people that are ducking, covering, uncertain, fearful, and negative about the outlook for the future. And then there's those that are, yeah, you know, it's okay. I'm doing all right. You know, my situation is okay, or my family's okay. And it's somewhat positive. I'm hopeful, and I'm not suggesting that these aren't serious times or that we don't have people that are really affected by what's going on. However, I think the media and and social media in particular have really painted a negative doom and gloom, dark era that we are entering into. I firmly believe that we as council and we as leaders in the community need to have a positive messaging platform, that we are encouraging people, we are helping people, and that I'm hoping that our task force sees fit in telling council that. And maybe not in so many words as what I've just used, but I think it's, and I'm not trying to say what I think we should say. I would just like to start the discussion about, yes, we're going to get into specifics on, you know, from our survey where we need to put money into this particular need that we see. But overall, generally, what can the town do to help with people, whether it be mental health or whatever? And I do think that from my point of view, one of the things that we can do outside of policy changes and funding in certain areas, we can have a real impact in, you know, these types of things, you know, flowers, beautification. I think that will go a long ways to creating a positive atmosphere for residents, tourists, people going outside, business owners, everybody. So I just would like to leave that as and I had the same rant at the Economic Task Force yesterday that, you know, as we start to get specific into what we can really do to help, there's these underlying small things that I think make big differences too, that we can't overlook. And that's messaging, being positive, smiling. Like, there's small things, but as as I said, as leaders, I think it's really important now more than ever for us to have that smiling face out front. And I don't mean it as a facade to try and cover up the truth in anything. Just that I think people are looking to us to provide hope, and we need to step up. So it's a bit of a long-winded rant, but I just wanted to ensure that I got the. I keep saying flowers, and it's because Susan's here. But it's true. There are small things that I think could be swept away in people's desire, maybe, or fear to save. And I mean as council, that we're, I think we for sure have to be mindful of our finances, but we save for rainy days on purpose. This is a rainy day. Now is not the time to stick our hands in our pockets and go, we'll figure it out later. We actually need to act now. And I'm saying things like, from the recovery, the economic side of things, like the town has pulled back in hiring our seasonal staff. And yep, there was time when we didn't have, at the time when we had to make the decision to do so, it was the right decision. However, and I'm not saying we should do something different, but this is an example of maybe something that we should be recommending to council, is that maybe this is a time to hire more seasonal staff, because they're generally youth. They're people that are in need of work. They're saving up for whatever. And there are kids. There are our community's kids. And what is a better way for our community to help in a small way, which is a small budget item, than to do that? But there's a mindset out there that is, let's not spend any money right now. Let's save everything. It's going to be so terrible tomorrow that we need to duck and cover. So I know we need to balance that, but I also think we need to be, pushing a little bit on the, hey, now's the time to be positive, be proactive. So I'm ranting now. I'll just push mute, but I just wanted to be able to share that with everyone, that there's a lot we can do. Sorry, Kim.
No problem. Does anyone have any comments as well that they want to add before we go in?
So impactful of a speech that no one had anything to say about it. Okay, maybe I should just leave now.
I have things to say. I absolutely agree. I think that positive perspective is incredibly important. And a lot of people, like I've had the privilege of working with most of the groups that exist on the task force. And I think that's one of the strengths of our social sector, is looking at the needs, but we don't dwell there. We look at the needs as our baseline of what needs to happen, and we're movers and shakers. So we literally go, okay, this is the need identified. How do we fix it? And we come together as a group, and we're solution focused. So I think that's the way that we're kind of wired in our nonprofit world, and do amazing things with very little. I think most of us budget wise, but we rally, right? We get the community together. We create that excitement. I think it's important that people are aware of the social needs that exist, but not dwelling on them. It would be more, this is the need and this is how we're responding, is the way that I see it. So I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in, but
I think that was really well said, Kim.
Hi. If I have the floor, I agree with Kim and Jeff in that putting forth that positivity and getting the community involved. I agree with you, Jeff, on the whole flower thing. I had an idea that maybe we could put a And Susan as well, flowers. I'm a huge flower person, but it also is a sign of growth as well. And I think Cochrane is going to continue growing with all of us putting forth this tremendous effort. I have an idea for a whole flower thing to. It can be a community thing as well, kind of like a challenge. Who can put out the best flower arrangement to decorate Main Street? I don't know. It was an idea, but to get not only the positivity, going as well, but to involve everyone in that process, I think is really important to move forward in this ongoing crisis. Thanks.
Thanks, Cindy. Anybody else want to jump in as well? I think
guess one last thing, Kim.
Yeah.
One of the things that we identified yesterday in the Economic Recovery Task Force, I think that this is an interesting aside. It was kind of an unintended outcome. Suzanne Goyech from the Visitor Information Center has been phoning businesses, just cold calling them. She's almost at 500. Just phone calls out saying, hey, did you know the town has formed this task force? We're here to help. How's it going? She gave us a report on that yesterday, and it was overwhelmingly positive. I was quite surprised with that. I mean, having people say, we've had our struggles, or we're closed, but I've applied for this funding, or I've done this, or but generally optimistic in their future. And I think if you just relied on the media, you would come to the conclusion that maybe there's 500 businesses going out of business. That's not the case. People are doing okay. I mean, not to say that's everyone. So then our efforts now are going to be on those that maybe really need the help, just like us here on the social side. So just that's what got me thinking that about the positive thing. It's not so terrible. Not everybody is underwater right now. So we have lots of hands and lots of people that are willing to help. So I'm sorry that I'm taking up so much time. I'm gonna leave.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I do think it does come down to resiliency, and that's got to be our focus as the task force as well. Is how do we build resiliency for our people, and how do we make sure that those supports and services are available for those that need it, and I guess just make sure, like Jeff said, those that need it the most is where our efforts need to be placed. So.
Thanks, guys. I didn't mean to take up 20 minutes, but have fun going through the survey.
Thanks, Jeff.
Comments, they were awesome.
All right. Is there any other final comments before we start moving through? Jan.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute there for a minute. I just had a question. You said that 8% in those other surveys were saying that they were concerned about their family having violence in the family.
Yes, it was the Stats Canada. It released on April 8th. 8% of Canadians reported they were very or extremely concerned about the possibility of violence in their home.
What would it be normally? Like, is that way out of line? Is it normally 3%? Is it normally 7%?
I did read in a different study that was conducted just for Alberta. I'll have to retrieve the name and provide it to you after, but it was a gender-based look at how COVID was affecting women. And they said that since March in Alberta, calls for sexual and domestic violence crisis lines have increased between 15 and 45% in the past 3 months in our province.
Okay, thank you.
Increases. I don't know if anyone else has any data that they've read, but everything that I've read is showing that there has been an increase since COVID.
I just want to know what the increase, I just wanted some quantitative information about how big an increase it is.
So in that one provincial study, they said 15 to 45%.
Okay,
Province. Any other comments before we move in? All right, Nicole, can you bring it up? Did everybody receive the information that Nicole sent out today? All right, I think I have control of the screen. So the very first question that we started to look at was around mental health prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And you can see a high percentage of our population rated their mental health as being either excellent, very good, excellent, very good, or good prior to COVID. Sorry, can I get everyone to mute? It sounds like we've got background noises. Can everybody see this screen okay? It is a little bit small, but the next question was, we were looking at concerns and how concerned people were. And I won't go through every single one of the results, but extremely concerned, you can see, is the blue. And almost across, we have people that are extremely concerned in different areas. So vulnerable family members is worth noting. And uncertainty about the future was really high as well. Very concerned, again, almost across the board in every single area around this 40, between 30 to 40% as well. And so you can see kind of across the board, we do have concerns in every single area. Increase in disagreements and conflict in my home, I think, is a key question. We do have a smaller percentage, but there are people in our community that are extremely concerned, very concerned and somewhat concerned about increase in disagreements and violence as well. We do have, it's low, but we know that that's currently present in the community as well. It is reassuring to see how many people don't have concerns though as well in those areas, but we have a small pocket of people in our population that are concerned. And then we received so many comments. You guys, I think this is an important area for us to look at, but and the comments were all over the board, from like financial, economic recovery. Safety was a big theme that we saw running throughout as well. So concern with being out, maybe having appropriate PPE, how other people are using PPE, concerns about how others are out in the community, came up for quite a number of people. Mental health was another concern that was brought up quite a lot. So mental health and well-being of our kids. Lots of financial concerns, laid off from jobs, struggles with kids being home, parents needing to work. How do you balance that childcare and those home responsibilities? People concerned that help may not last forever. So some comments about relying on people and not sure if that's going to be a long-term solution and how long will help be available. Am I scrolling too quickly here, or is it okay? Disconnection from others, loneliness, possible job layoffs, money. We had quite a few comments too throughout about reliable internet, high-speed internet, because of course that's key to access any of the online formats or to be able to stay in touch with people. Rural area internet. A lot of concern over seniors, employment opportunities, being separated from people. So quite a few comments about not being able to see family, not being able to connect with grandkids or people that didn't live in your home. So that sense of disconnection. Mental and physical and emotional well-being. Concerned with the town and facilities not being open to public was also in there as well. So this question was us taking a bit of a deeper dive in terms of mental health. Thinking about the current situation, have you experienced any of the following? 20% are reporting feeling helpless about the situation. 16% reporting a loss of interest and pleasure in their daily activities. 16% feeling more irritable or having moments of anger. Change in the quality and duration of sleep. So we do see that we have 4% reporting increased use of alcohol or drugs, 16% reporting moments of great anxiety. And then other people identified worried about catching it. So that being exposed to COVID, becoming sick, passing it on to family. We did have a few comments throughout about diet and eating and how the effect that that's having on people. The above feeling we're not a constant, we're on occasion, and worries that I'm not doing what I can to help. So kind of all in all, our community does have some pretty significant worries. And do feel free to jump in, you guys, as well for conversation, or if you have comments on any of these questions, we can unpack them more together.
I'm
Is there
just really curious to compare it next week after the paper copies start coming in to see how it changes.
Yeah, it will be really interesting. How much of the following negatively impacted your state of mind? This kind of goes to what Jeff was talking about too, right? The news and the media, and how does that impact us mentally and emotionally? So 34 people are greatly impacted, 84 moderately, and only 8 are reporting that the media has had no impact at all. Managing daily schedule, financial situation, we have 26 greatly impacted and 44 moderately, with only 55 people saying no impact at all. The fear of being infected also is, 37 and 59 people have some concerns about that. Concerns about personal safety. Is there anything on here that surprises you or stands out? Is my pace okay, you guys? Okay. So we ask what else? And again, people are wanting, they're wanting a chance to voice their opinion and offer. So fear of the unknown, inconsistent messaging, change, the lack of respect to fellow human beings, judgmental people. And I think this too was what Jeff was alluding to earlier, as well as some of those negative messaging on social media and the polarization that exists between different groups. So some people are very concerned, some people are not concerned at all, and there's a lot of judgment that's going back and forth between the two groups. Financial. So CURB pays less than EI would have. I've had to sell my stuff just to buy groceries and pay bills.
I have to agree about the bathrooms. We got to get those bathrooms open.
Where do you see bathrooms, Susan? I haven't seen the part yet.
It was up a little higher. Where did it go?
Oh, I see it. The conflicting information about COVID. Yeah, the bathrooms
Yeah.
boarded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's terrible to expect people to be outside more, but have nowhere to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And you can see people are like not being able to go to the gym, unable to visit friends and family. So a big part is that isolation piece that's having a negative impact on people's minds. Yeah, it's even actually identified in here, which is interesting. Too much negativity on Facebook. People disagreeing. And they go on. There's a lot of comments. There was quite a few comments throughout about seniors feeling isolated, living alone, no interaction with people. We saw that several times when I just did a quick glance through about not having visitors, being locked up. So definitely something to keep on our radar. Loneliness.
So Kim, will you guys be trying to put them into categories so that in the end we have themes?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's our goal. We literally cut off the survey at 10 o'clock this morning, and it took Nicole almost an hour and a half to export all of the information that comes in from the survey and get it into the format that you see here. So literally when she sent it out at 12:30, she just finished populating it and got it out. So this is my first real in-depth read too. I skimmed really quick before the meeting, but yeah, what we'll be doing in the future is doing the cutoff of data Tuesday at noon. So that'll allow us to have some time to wade through, identify themes, and it won't be as overwhelming as this. We'll be able to.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. I just know it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, and the more comments and people that we get, it's going to be, this one I believe was, I think Nicole said like 80 pages to start when she initially started putting the information in. So it's a lot. This was quite positive. 25% report very strong belonging to their community. 40% somewhat strong. We still have 22% reporting somewhat weak, 9% very weak. So about 31% of our population isn't feeling connected to the community. And 4% weren't sure how to respond to that. And that's been, I think, one of our biggest challenges is how do you make people feel connected in such a time of disconnection? So I'm gonna just scroll through because we have pages and pages of this because it doesn't populate as nice into graphs, and we will just look at this next week. We'll get it organized a little bit better. But as I'm flipping, does anyone have any comments or thoughts that they want to share?
I think it's great how much feedback people gave. Like, I know we've touched on that a few times, but like you said, in surveys, people usually just skip that over. And I think the depth of information that's been provided there is going to be really helpful for us moving forward.
Yeah, it's incredible. We were shocked. I don't know if you remember when we were going through the survey, we're like, oh, we'll put a comment box just in case. People used every single like available space to provide comments, which is phenomenal. This question, I think we're gonna have to wait and see. I think we'll see a pretty dramatic shift as it comes out in the paper, because the survey is only available on technology right now. So if you don't have technology, you're not doing the survey. So I think we'll see some shifts here, because 99% of our population is saying yes, they have outside technology, but the survey's really only been spread through email and social media at this point. So you kind of needed technology to be able to answer it. So it'll be interesting to see what we get back from the paper copies. This one was also interesting. So do you feel that you have the mental health support that you need? We have 80% responding yes, 20% responding no. And then in our next question, we asked, are you aware of the mental health resources in our community? And 73% saying yes, and 27% saying no. So it would be interesting for us at some point maybe to do a deeper dive into this. And I'd be curious to know whether it's the people that don't have the support that aren't aware that it exists. So I don't know how we would determine that, but. And maybe looking at our communication and how are we getting information out to the public on what currently exists too might be a strategy for us. Now we go into some of the financial questions. Have you or anyone in your household lost their job because of the COVID-19 pandemic? Only 40% haven't been financially impacted at all by COVID. Everyone else either has lost their own job, someone in their household, 18% has lost their job, hours have been reduced, and 17% are saying, I'm okay right now, but I'm worried if things continue that I will be losing my job. Any comments, you guys? Since the COVID-19 pandemic, how has it been for you or your household to meet its financial needs? We have 58% just in the middle saying it's neither harder or easier. 25% are reporting somewhat more difficult, and 10% saying much more difficult. So 35% of our respondents are saying that it's much harder or somewhat harder, and a very small percentage, so 6% are saying that since COVID, it's been easier for them to meet their financial needs. Any surprises there? So this one was asking if it doesn't change for the next few months, what will happen. We see the numbers drop from the no change category by, I think it's almost close to 10%. 14% saying it would get significantly worse. 23% somewhat worse, and only 2% are saying significant or somewhat better. And then 15% aren't quite sure what that would mean for them or for their family. Jen, this one will be interesting to you. How likely is it in your household that food will run out before you receive money to buy more? We have 2% reporting very, 3% reporting likely, 8% reporting neither likely nor unlikely. And we have a pretty high population here. That's 84% are saying unlikely or very unlikely out of the group that completed this survey.
I think again, we may see that change with the newspaper surveys coming in.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
that was a surprise to me as well.
Yeah, and it's dependent, and we do want to hear from everybody because we want to get a snapshot from the whole community of what's happening. So I do think it'll be interesting to see once the newspaper comes out. And we're going to talk about it later, but we're going to approach you, Jen, to see if we could put paper surveys in the food hampers that go out to people. Yay. But to make sure that we're hitting people, right? And getting all of the people. So this will be subject to change. We do need to remember it's 127 surveys that came in the first 24 hours, right? So we'll see these shift. This is just our very preliminary data.
Another idea for getting those surveys out is, I don't know if you're aware of the Good Food Box, and I don't know what their capacity is, but it's discount produce, and they put out an order once a month. And I know that they're doing, their next order comes in next Wednesday. So people come and pick up these discounted food boxes from someone's house. And that might be an opportunity if when they're unloading the trucks, if they put some surveys in. And so if you wanted me to follow up with that, I could.
That would be awesome, Lauren.
Okay.
And yeah, we'd be happy to print the surveys and drop them off wherever they need to go.
Did we utilize Spray Lakes, the sports center? They said that they had a huge mailing list for the email. Did we utilize them on this one?
Nope, but we could.
But we remember when we were in the other meetings that we had before this task force, they were really interested in helping us do that. So
Absolutely. No, we could definitely send it through to Spray Lakes. In terms of just we'll take a quick communication talk break in between the survey from the data. We have, it's gone out on all of our different social media channels. We have promoted it through our interagency distribution list, Seniors Advisory Committee. So any of the committee work, it's gone through. I did do a quick article with Cochrane Now, so it should be out on the radio as well with that promotion, and they're promoting it online. We'll be out in the Eagle next week.
I
So
saved my article for next week too, so it'll be in the same paper as the paper copy.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I think that's all that's been done to this point is us just madly emailing it out to as many people as we could think. Spray Lakes was a brilliant idea, Jan, so we'll get it out to them as well.
I had a meeting with the Activettes last night. We had a parking lot meeting.
Okay.
So we met at the church and we just took over their parking lot. But there are 3 Activettes that are out of this 120 some. Because I
Okay.
had emailed it out to them, and they responded that three of them had time to get it done before I talked to them last night.
Awesome. So yeah, please send it out to all of your groups. Any people that you know, we know people will be receiving this multiple times. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we inundate them until they complete it. So we'll just keep doing our best to get it out. The other thing, well, we can talk about it later in the meeting as well about communication strategy, but the farmers market came up last time as well. So while we're scrolling through, if people want to think if they want to be part of the farmers market, doing paper surveys, that would be great too. Yes, Jan.
How many names did you get filled in at the bottom out of the 120 some?
Nicole, can you comment on that one?
Had to find my unmute. When I'm not controlling my computer, it's weird. I roughly would say between 10 and 15 names out of the 120.
Okay,
Yeah. I don't
thank
have-
you.
Any other questions or comments before we keep scrolling?
Just thinking about the farmers market, I was there last week and they said they had 1,000 people through, but a lot of them are from outside the community too, and that might be a little confusing.
Oh, coming from not Cochrane or County, Susan, like Calgary residents?
Calgary, Canmore, Cremona, wherever.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to give that some thought. Because they'd skew our data. Current housing situation, 90% own their own home that have responded so far, 8% renting. Living in a camp is 1%, and we have 2 people as other. And comments are, own a home I can no longer afford, but can't sell without taking a bigger loss. And ex-husband and I intended to have a separate household, but can no longer afford to do so. So we can definitely see that that housing could become an issue. How likely is it that you will need to move within the next 6 months? So we have a high number that are saying they're pretty stable. But we do have a percentage that's saying it's very likely or likely that they will need to move because they can't afford their home. In terms of relief services, 45% are reporting they have not needed it. 8% have participated in mortgage deferral programs, 4% with utility deferrals. Property tax deferrals is at 4% as well. This one is credit card payment deferral, EI. So we are, our families are accessing some of the financial relief programs that are available. Car payment deferrals, short-term disability. And when we're looking at looking ahead to after the pandemic, we have 11% that are very concerned, 16 that are moderately concerned, and 18 that are somewhat concerned. So only 32% of our respondents have no concerns at all. And then lots of comments as well. People referencing oil and gas, which has also exasperated with the pandemic. job loss. I'm just going to scroll through these pretty quickly here, you guys. I'm just cognizant of time. We've almost hit 2 o'clock. So everyone has these and can read through some of the comments on their own. And then if you flag anything, we can definitely discuss it in more detail next week. Lots of comments, though, like pages of comments. This is a question that we put in for the Economic Recovery Task Force. 40% are saying they're very comfortable, 31% saying somewhat comfortable. So 71% of our people that responded to this survey are feeling some level of comfortability. And 20% are saying they're either very or somewhat uncomfortable. And then the next question was our open-ended one. So we'll provide all of this information over to the Economic Task Force for them to take a look through. But again, tons of information. And we were worried about the length, you guys. This one has some, I think will be interesting, and we'll come back and do some themes around this as well. But the next few questions will provide us some good information on what people are looking for. So what's going to keep your spirits up? What do people know? There's pages here as well. So do feel free to read through them. And when we come back next time, we'll have them in themes because it's a lot of information to wade through. Again, top priorities and pages. People have lots of ideas for us. I do think it's incredible, and I think this really speaks to the needs of people to have a voice. And I know I've been part of like many surveys in the past, and I've never seen responses like this ever. So I think it just speaks to where people are at and their need to have their voice, and really looking to us for providing maybe some solutions and support in these areas. Susan, you've been doing surveys like your whole life. Have you ever seen responses like the open-ended?
No, I was really surprised to see how many comments there were, and just all over the map. It'll be interesting when you group them to take a closer look.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty impressed with the way people got into it. Speaks to the good survey that you put together.
Well, and I think it's where people are at. And right now, everybody's been impacted. So a lot of surveys that we put out, people may not feel that it's relevant. But COVID has impacted everybody in some way. So I think that was part of our advantage too. 49% feel happy about the long-term future of Cochrane. 33% are neutral. And 15% are excited, and we only are showing 3% sad. 3.25. Everyone else is kind of either sitting neutral, happy, or excited. Which is great. And it's neat seeing some comments about resiliency. Cochrane is a resilient town. Even comments on the faces, you guys, like where you just had to write your level of happiness. I love it. Let's pull together to love our neighbors. Feel fortunate to live in Cochrane, a strong sense of community, many initiatives to keep people's spirits up. These, once we group two, will be really interesting to come back. I haven't even had a chance to look through these, but people did comment, what has changed for the better? Lots around family time, relationships, less busyness, less running, not feeling bad about resting. Wow. So yeah, it's going to take us some time to compile themes, you guys. Like, I honestly can't believe the time and energy that a lot of people put into this survey. And then the opposite again, what has changed for the worse since the pandemic? And a lot around lack of connection, mental health, financial, loneliness, financial and mental health. Not seeing family. Wow. Holy man, you guys. And then we get into demographics. Do you guys, are you curious to see the demographics as well? Do you want me to keep running through? Okay. So age, majority of our respondents were between the age of 46 to 64, 29% over 65, 28% 31 to 45, and 19 to 30. We had nobody 18 or under. So we'll try to, maybe what we'll do is send it to the Boys and Girls Club as well and see if they can forward it out to some of their youth. And if you have other ideas for us to try to reach that demographic, please let us know.
Through the church youth groups as well might be a good option.
Oh, that's awesome, Shara. Do you have a contact for those?
I do actually, yeah. So I can send it out to them.
Okay, that would be beautiful. Thank you.
Kim, I wonder if the schools would send it out. Maybe Fiona Gilbert could help get it out. It could be part of their homework.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, we would have to do that right away because school, I believe, is over next week. So yeah, we'll see if we can get it out to the schools. Gender, 83% are women, 14% male, 3% chose not to answer. I don't know if anyone's surprised by that. Typically surveys, females are more willing to do the surveys, more likely to participate. Not a whole lot of diversity with how people identify. So 94% are identifying as heterosexual, 1% lesbian, 3% bisexual, and 3% other. Someone put married. Citizenship and immigration status. Again, pretty homogenous group. So 94, almost 95% reporting as Canadian citizen. Almost 4% as permanent resident landed immigrant, and 1% as other, which is with dual citizenship.
Kim, would the immigration group have a mail out list of any sort?
Yeah, we can check with them and see. Nicole, too, if you're writing out ideas, would be Gressel, to connect with Gressel in the Filipino group. Okay, awesome. %, Town of Cochrane residents, 11% with the county, and 1% Calgary work in Cochrane. And we did have a Calgary person respond. Household 20% have one person, 39% have two people in their household, 14% have three, 17% with four, 6 with 5, 2% with 6 people in their home, only not quite 1% with 7 people, and then nobody with higher numbers. Number of children. So majority of people didn't have any children. Almost 90% actually didn't have children to report on 0 to 6. And just lower numbers with this younger age group. Yeah, it doesn't look like 80% have no children within this age group either. And again, pretty minimal percentages that have children that fall in that age category. And again, 86% had no children 13 to 18 in their home either, and a small percentage had between 1 to 3 children.
I think we had a larger demographic of 50 plus and 65 plus that responded. So that might be reflected with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we did have a high number of seniors in here as well.
We went out through Seniors on the Bow, and those people are pretty active at getting this stuff done.
Oh, good. It did go out to Seniors on the Bow membership. Awesome. How many adults over 65 reside in your household? You can see those numbers here as well. Family income, which we have a pretty diverse, we've got a rainbow going on here. So we're pretty spread out. Some of our largest numbers are the 160 to 179. This one is 200,000 and over, 100 to 120. So we had quite a few high income people completing this originally, but kind of between the 3 to 7%, kind of around the board. So yeah, probably we have about 10% making under 40,000 that completed this survey. But again, I expect that to shift too in the coming days. And the more that it gets out, this was literally the first 48 hours. This we found quite interesting. So Town of Cochrane Program and Activity Guide is 16%. So a lot of people are using that for their information. 17% with a newspaper. Websites at 16, digital sign. E-newsletters are low. Posters are quite low as well. Word of mouth continues to be one of the best ways to share information. Social media, radio, and other. Somebody gets our FCSS email. I love that. And then even in the area of like provide any other feedback or comment. People still wanted to talk even after all having all the comment spaces. So. And then that brings us to the end. So lots of information there. I think it's incredibly positive how, well, number one, the number of responses that we got and how much information people are putting into those reports. We won't spend probably this level of detail. It was just exciting for us to actually have this number of responses in that short of time. So moving forward, what we'll do is we will get it out to you a little bit earlier, probably Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon will be our goal. And you'll have some time to process it a little bit. And then that gives us a little bit of time to theme it up and make it a little bit more legible. So we don't have to go through like 87 pages of comments. We'll just cut it back and talk about some general themes if that works for people. Sounds good. Any other comments on the survey before we move on? All right, so we did kind of take a little bit of a data break and talk about communication strategy. That was next on the agenda. So I know Nicole was taking notes and we have some ideas and some of you were going to share it on to different groups. Are there any other ideas for promotion that you're thinking about?
I will, we'll share it on social media, but I'll also update the app just on the front page. So there'll be a link to it on there as well.
Oh, that's fantastic, Lauren. Thank you. And to all your advocates and volunteers.
Yes, I will. We have a WhatsApp group, so I'll make sure I send it out to all of them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Kim, are we going to pick a ending date at some point so that people know when they have to get it done by?
We should. We can definitely talk about that. We kind of just said end of June. When we met with communications, we needed to decide whether we want 1 week in the paper or 2 weeks in the newspaper. So we wanted to bring that to this group as well for
To actually print the survey and put it in the paper twice?
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of paper.
Do you think just 1 week would be sufficient?
I do, but what do others think?
How much does it cost?
It's probably going to be, I would say, close to 800 to 1,000, Nicole, right? Because what we
Each time?
what we have,
And then,
the whole middle of
and then
the-
you have to hire somebody to put it all, input it all?
well, we
Well,
have
that's time
special-
too,
Yeah,
but that's an extra cost as well, right?
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's staff time for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
These days, even having it in once is pretty unique because people are moving away from it. I think one time at pretty awesome.
Okay.
Do you have the money to do that?
So yeah, we could definitely figure it out. Right now, things are coming out of our FCSS budget, our operating budget for the task force, unless it's a bigger tag item that we would struggle with, then we'd have to go to a council for approval for funds. But
I think
Would it
once
be
would
worth-
be enough.
1 week,
Yeah.
Lauren, is
I
what?
agree. I think 1 week is enough.
I was going to say, would it be worth maybe taking some of that money and instead of putting it for a second week in the newspaper, boosting one of the posts on Facebook? Because I find that reaches a lot of people and then it's showing up on people's feed. And when they're scrolling through at night, then they can just go straight to the survey.
Okay, for sure. No, we can definitely, we didn't make any decisions with communications. It was just an idea that they threw out. So we said we'd come back and chat with you all. Do we, so next week will be the 18th that it will come out in the paper. Do we want to leave it for 1 week after that? Close it like what would that be, June? You're muted, Nicole. Oh.
There we go. The Thursday after the 25th is the 25th. So I don't know if we want to do the 26th and just make it that Friday night, or leave it for the weekend and go the Monday, which is the 29th.
If people are mailing it in, they're going to need a few extra days too to get it to you and for you guys to put it in.
Yeah. And closing would mean shutting it down like on the online, and then those paper copies could still trickle in as we're compiling results too. So the 29th, you think, of June? Okay.
Monday. Okay.
Perfect. And thoughts about farmers market? I do hear what you're saying, Susan, with all of the different demographics and people that are coming through. Is it worth?
They might also not want us because they're trying to get people in, buy your stuff and get out.
Oh.
So they want us hanging around filling out surveys. But if we just handed them out, it would be different, I guess.
That's a very good point. I worry though, if we hand them out, that people are just going to throw them in their cars and never look at them. Do you think?
You can put some at the clothesline if you like, because that's a different demographic again.
Oh, that's great, Jen. How many would you printed for there?
I don't know, I would think that we'd get a couple hundred people through there a day.
Okay. So what if we start with 100, Jan, and then you can let us know if you need replenishing?
Of course.
We could maybe even just look at getting a sandwich board sign put at the, to put at the farmer's market that has like the information of the link.
Brilliant.
I like that, Nicole.
We could even print some surveys off and have a little thing and put them there. People want to take them, they could. Do something like that.
Yeah, I really like that.
Okay.
Perfect. And then I think we'll know more next week too. We'll see if the surveys are continuing to come at this rate. And I think next week we can reevaluate and see if we need to bump things up. But yeah, please share with absolutely everybody in the world that you can. And we'll try to get our youth numbers up for next week as well. We'll send it out to all those people. Jen.
I'm with Jeff on the fact that we have to get moving on some recommendations. I think it's all great to have surveys and all the rest of it. Nothing is really surprising in that survey, the answers that we've got so far. We could have probably all written those results ourselves, probably. I know we're getting lots of comments, but the actual information is pretty much what we thought it would be, I would think. But we have to get some recommendations as to where we're going to go with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked last meeting about looking at direction, and actually that's next on our agenda, so we can just segue right into there, Jen, about looking at grant opportunities and what do we do and what is our role as a task force. So I threw out 2 different options for task force members to consider. One was us creating a grant repository on the Town of Cochrane website that would have a listing of the different grants that are available, different funding opportunities, So all nonprofits could see what's available and be able to tap into different funding opportunities. So the task force like that, and that is in progress. We're just working on creating a template, and hopefully we'll have that up in the next couple weeks. I will bring you the draft next week and show you what the template that we've created. But our goal is to have that live over the next couple of weeks. We're working with our communications department on what that's going to look like. So the other area that we talked about was the possibility of applying for a large chunk of money through the Community Emergency Response Fund. I hope I'm providing you with the right name. It's coming straight from my memory. They are allocating, they have $350 million to support COVID. It's a national grant, so it's all across Canada. But we had a conversation around applying for those dollars as the task force and applying for a big chunk of money, being able to use the survey data that we've gathered to make the case for our grant application and be able to potentially give out these dollars to the groups and the areas that need it the most. So in terms of status, where we are on that, we've been doing a whole lot of work. I was tasked with reaching out to the Cochrane Foundation. I did some research. It does look like they are specifically around capital expenses. Susan, you said that last time, and I looked on their website. I couldn't find a phone number, but I have emailed them and I haven't heard back yet to see if they have any intentions of applying for this funding. Nicole has reached out to the group United Way to get information on the community fund, and we have received the grant application from them, but we have a phone call in to seek clarification on whether we, as the Rotary Club we talked about, and Natalia couldn't be here today, but she did email and say the Rotary was on board to be a fiscal agent, if that would work. So we're just waiting to hear on the logistics of what does that look like, and is that possible for us to do as a group. So hopefully we'll hear back from them soon and be able to report back next week, but that's all work that's happening in the background.
Kim, along with the financial stuff, just thinking about Jan's comments and how maybe if everybody's reading all this stuff over and starts thinking about we could do this, we could do that, start making lists, and we could all put our lists together and maybe somehow prioritize or put a number value to the ones we think are most important. And maybe there's some really small, big, quick wins we could do, and then some bigger stuff.
Absolutely. Next time too, we'll show, we will need funding of some sort to be able to do some of this. So we will either have to look at grant dollars or potentially go before council as well, if that's something that we decide. Dan.
I'm just a little bit unclear because I thought our job was to advise council. I didn't realize that we were supposed to actually be doing stuff. Am I wrong? Is that?
We can do both for sure. I'd like to see us give recommendations too, like maybe victim services. Here's an idea of what you can incorporate. Activettes, maybe here's something for your food hamper, and town, you could do this, this, and this.
Well, I've already started making my list as we were going through that, so I'm on board.
That's awesome. We were looking at strategies, Jan, of how do we make a difference and how do we affect change? And some of the discussion was around, we're putting out this survey, we're collecting this data, and we might be in a really great position to be able to make those decisions and know where the needs are and respond really quickly if we did something like that.
For the sake of just maybe trying to create some efficiencies, if Nicole's going through the survey and lumping some of those or categorizing some of the comments, are we able to get a copy of that if you're doing it for this week before next week's meeting just so, because like it's good to sit down and try to come up with those ideas. And instead of each of us trying to go in and do the same thing, can we just piggyback off of the work that you'll be doing already, Nicole?
Absolutely. So our goal will be to have it out when we send out the agenda. We'll be able to attach the survey results and the themes attached to the agenda, which we do get out typically Wednesday by noon. So that'll give people kind of that full day to take a look. Any other, I know we're nearing, it's 2:27. Any other thoughts around the grant opportunities, or should we table till next week when we have some of the answers that we're waiting to receive?
Have you guys looked into the SIP grant, the CIP grant as well? That, okay.
We
That-
specifically aren't applying. I know there's different agencies. I know CSHO is applying. That's the one due on the 15th, right?
Yeah,
Helping applying. I believe Big Hill Haven has applied. I believe Tara's working on a grant application as well. So I think there's new.
Mhm. There is, yeah.
Are you applying as well? through-
We are, yeah. We've had the funding in the past, and we were scheduled to apply in November, whenever the next term was. So we're just going to put it in early.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard quite a few organizations are applying for that pot of money. And that was some of our rationale too, about doing one big pot and trying to work together more collaboratively rather than having like all of our different organizations apply separately for this pot. We thought, let's do it as a group. Let's do it with all of the statistics that we've gathered and then figure after. Any other thoughts? Is there anything people want to share for roundtable? I've talked the whole meeting, you guys.
You did an excellent job, and I feel really good about where we're at and how much we've got in such a short period of time. And the survey looked awesome.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, it's hard to believe this is our 4th meeting. So there's been a lot of work that's happened in the past 4 weeks to get us to this point.
Have you started working on the one for the agencies yet?
Yeah, we actually have a whole list of questions together, and our goal is to have that back for next week for everyone to take a look at and provide some feedback.
One funny idea I have, I'll share it. It might be good or bad, but the bridge is opening this fall, and I thought it would be fun to do some kind of a Toonie fundraiser for everybody that drives over it, or somehow to collect money when it comes to an opening, and if we had a special program that we wanted to use it for.
I love that, like a tool.
Yeah. Peter doesn't know about this, so don't, this is confidential.
I think that's a great idea.
Somehow make a big deal about the recovery and over the bridge and something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's a saying, water is, what is it? Water under the bridge? Water.
And of course, Jack Tennant was such a social guy, and it's named after him and all his connections to Morley. I just think there's something we could do. So think about it.
Absolutely. I like that. I really like that. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
Just if anybody wants to help support the food drive this weekend or on the 27th, we would love to have extra volunteers.
There's also the walk on Sunday. I don't know if you guys all heard about it. That's organized for equality and bringing attention to equality. Starts at noon downtown and goes to the Chicken Lady. No comments on that?
There's a lot of people that I know are planning on attending.
Mm.
Anything else? Nicole?
We are, since the beginning of our meeting, we are now at 142 for how many surveys? So we've got another 2 people fill it out since we've been meeting.
This is what we do all day. Nicole just refreshing. She sends texts out to us and then we do happy dances. So we'll keep you posted. We'll send some random emails as our number goes up and keep you guys posted on the amount coming back in. So excellent. Well, any final thoughts before we end the meeting? Excellent. So if you can please send out the survey to get it out to youth and all of your contacts, that would be so appreciated. And next week, we won't spend near as much time on the actual data itself. We'll try to have it compiled and themed a little bit better. And we'll spend the bulk of the meeting looking at the grant. We'll actually review the emergency support fund and see what's involved and see how our data is fitting and if it aligns well. And we should have all the answers of whether that's an option for us to apply and be able to support various different people in the community. Sound good? Excellent. Well, have a great day, everybody. And we will see you all next week at the same time. Take care, guys.
Everyone.